Welcome back to the codtalespodcast. I'm Az.
And I'm Dane.
And today we have a special guest, Norm Wilson from the Twin Rivers Fishing Club in Wellington.
And less than a week after this episode was recorded, Norm managed to bag a metre 22 out of the Macquarie River.
Proper donkey. We're going to get into this episode about some environment, health, fish care, and some great things the Twin Rivers Fishing Club do for our mighty river.
And I got to tell you, Norm has got some absolutely cracking stories and longline for us.
And it's week 3. We've got the giveaway this week, guys. So listen up. End of the episode. Find out who's the winner.
And on today's episode, we have our very first guest, Norm Wilson. Say hello, Norm.
Hey boys, how you going? Don't mind being the first. Everyone remembers their first.
Spot on.
So, Norm, as we know, you're part of the Twin Rivers Fishing Club, and you have a lot to do with like the Burrendong Classic and everything like that, running it. And how's those things go for you? Like,
Yeah, it's we're a good, healthy little club down there at Wellington. The last couple of years, we've been fortunate enough to host the Burrendong Classic, which has been a bit of an eye-opener. Good experience, good fun, good social crew, so that makes it all a lot more palatable, I guess, easy to handle.
You get a good turnout for that too, don't you?
Yeah, we're up to, last couple of years, we've had about 700 competitors each year. Plus, you get a few extras on top of that, so you might end up with about 1,500 people or so that the event attracts.
That's a big event.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, Az have done it quite a few times now in the last couple of years. And
Yeah, we have, yeah.
yeah, it's always a good event, always heaps of people and friendly faces around.
Yeah, we have a mile of prizes to give away. We've got a good bunch of sponsors. Shimano are really good to us, and that makes it all worthwhile. And we run a lot of the stuff through a raffle, so everyone has an opportunity to win something.
Yeah, get the kids involved.
Yep, for sure. So, mate, how'd you get started in the best sport on earth, fishing?
Yeah, I've been fishing for as long as I can remember, and I guess the first sort of times I can remember was when I was about 4 or 5, as a little kid, fishing with my grandfather down at Parramatta Weir, and we used to catch eels out of the weir there, and my grandfather, my mum's side, they're all Maltese, so they love that sort of stuff, and he used to pickle the eels up, and we loved it.
That's unreal, isn't it? Like, just thinking about, like, my old man, he's from Finland, and they love pickled herring.
Yeah, right.
They fillet the herring and they wrap it around, and then they stick it in a jar just with the brining solution or whatever it is. So
what?
Yeah, unreal. And he just picks it out, snaps a bit off, and yum.
Yeah, solid.
It'd be similar to the eel, wouldn't it? It just comes in long strips wrapped up in a...
Yeah, he used to do it in like a round jar, and the chunks, he likes to cut the eel in chunks and then have them in the jar, and you just pull a chunk of eel out and peel it off, and it was good to go all the time.
I'm actually in disgust. That's all you can keep your pickle stuff.
I don't mind it. I think I've heard of smoking eels pretty good too. I've never had it pickled though.
Yeah, I've heard of smoking.
Yeah, I've never tried it smoked, but
yeah,
that's probably my first memories of fishing, I guess. When I was that young, and then moved over the coast and grew up on the saltwater around Gosford. Rowing little timber boats out and catching flatties and crabs, and and then you sort of graduate from that and get into bigger boats and chasing bigger fish.
Yep.
I don't think the obsession ever stops. You're always looking for that.
Just costs more
new
money.
Target. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
you got a good fish on the coast that really sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, we got into live baiting off the rocks. So we used to. I went out with a couple of guys I was working with, and they were mad. Like, we pulled up at the South Head there at Sydney and looked down the cliff face, and he goes, "That ledge down there is where we're fishing." And I was thinking, how the hell are we getting down there? And the next thing you know, he opens the back of his wagon up, and there's all these little caving ladders, and each they're only like, they're only a foot wide, and you got 20 metres of caving ladder, and he's rolling 3 or 4 of them down the cliff in different spots.
Wow.
And then down you go.
It's a pretty dangerous thing, that. that rock fishing in that. Like, it can be dangerous.
Oh yeah, if you got to watch your swell, and
Yeah.
you're not going out on a silly day. But yeah, we were catching, kingies up to 20 kilos off
Holy
the rocks
shit.
How good's that?
there. Yeah, that was solid. And they just you're using 24 kilo game gear.
Yeah.
And it's just stand and deliver, And if they're tailing you in close to the rocks, you've got guys hanging onto your belt at the back to keep you from going in with the fish. So it's full on.
Sounds exciting, at least, there, for sure. It's amazing. Have you got, and then what, you moved over to freshwater later on?
Yeah, we've been out here probably 15 years. So I hadn't had a lot to do with freshwater before that. And then, I was still pining for the coast when we moved here a bit and hadn't really worked out the freshwater stuff. And I just had one of those days and needed to turn the switch off. And fishing for me is what does it. I can put a boat on the water or get in the water or sit on a bank.
100%.
And turn off. And all I'm thinking about is what lure I'm tying, where I'm going to cast next.
Yeah. Your biggest decision's the next spot.
Yeah,
100%.
You're just living in that moment, which I love.
Yeah.
And then, so I threw the kayak on this day. I had an old beeline fiberglass kayak and threw it on the river and had no idea what I was doing. And I had a couple of old deception lures and I was throwing them around. And I fished for about 3 hours and hadn't had a touch, and I was nearly over it. And I threw into a log jam, got fouled up, and I give the lure a flick and it let go. Got fouled up again, flicked it off again, and it stopped again. I hit it, and then it hit back. And I thought, oh, hello.
What's this?
Yeah, so, I thought this thing took me a minute or so to get it out. It was solid, and then I finally got a look at it as it come up belly up next to the kayak, and it's every part of a metre. And I thought, how the hell am I going to handle this in the kayak? So, I started paddling back to the bank, got about 20 metres off its snag, and it's got its second wind.
Yeah,
it just buried its head.
Take off again.
Buried its head.
See you later.
And that was it. Towed me up and let me go. So that was my first fish in the river. It was a metre next to the kayak.
Yeah. That's unreal straight off the bat. Like, to be your first fish.
So that was your first ever cod?
That was my first ever fish.
In
the
fresh
river
water?
out here, yeah.
Wow. That is unreal start.
Yeah, and blokes chase these things for years on end. And
Well, I didn't see another metre fish for 5 years.
there you go.
Oh, mate. And how many, you got a few metres under your belt now, or?
Yeah, I'm still on one hand. I'm ready to go on to 2 hands. So
Yeah.
I just got to find another one. So.
Yeah.
It's just time, patience, and working them out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, the techniques have changed a bit. There's so many more things you can use nowadays. So
Yeah, and they always do change, like time of year, what type of lures and stuff like that. So, and it's always going to change. They get used to something certain, and the next year they're completely different. If they're like me, they hate spinnerbaits.
What's your thoughts on spinnerbaits, Norm? I'm a big advocate for it, but as not so much.
Oh, if I was looking for snags, man, I'd love them.
yeah, I don't mind them. I've got a couple of good fish on the spinnerbaits.
Yeah.
They go all right.
100%.
In my rule book, though, I think you got to take 10 centimetres off your fish if it's caught on a spinnerbait.
You can keep your rule book, mate.
Yeah.
I thought of another place you could put it.
Yeah, spot on.
So have you got, out of all the fish you've caught now, have you got like a fave fish or a fave day that you can sort of think about? And
Yeah, there's a lot that comes to mind. Like when you're out on the water, you run into days where you just have that dream day. And one particular one was out the dam. I'd not long had the live scope, and I was still trying to work it out. And I'd fished, for a couple of hours and had a few touches, but nothing too exciting. Still trying to work out what was fish and what was a tree.
Yep.
And then I just happened on a tree, and it was loaded with yellow belly, and it was clear. There was no doubt they were fish.
Yep.
And I pulled about a dozen off the tree, and I think it was the end of COVID, so they had a curfew out the dam.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fished like to within a second of the gate being locked, and left them biting. And I guess as a standout day, it was a bit of a turning point in that you just learnt so much in that moment,
Yeah.
in that technique that you were fishing.
Yep.
And, so little moments like that sort of stand out. Another one's we chased marlin for years, and we were out a 30-mile offshore off Nelson's Bay at a place they call the car park. And there was game boats all around us, and we were in a 6-metre plate aluminium. We'd probably had 4 days or 5 days fishing and hadn't seen a fish.
Yeah.
And then you're watching game boats with, marlin tailing next to you in all this sort of stuff, and you think we're here, the fish are here, we're in the right spot. And then you put another couple of hours in and still nothing, and then one of those rods went off.
Yep.
And there was 4 rods on the rig, and I think we're fishing the trailer boat comp at the time, so each one of us had a rod. So as I grabbed my rod wasn't one that got off, so I've grabbed mine to clear the deck.
Yep.
And as I picked the rod up out of the holder, it snapped out of the outrigger, and I went, that's weird. So I just give it a second and then load it up. So we ended up with a double hookup.
Wow.
How good
So
is
we're
that?
standing
On
back
marlin.
to back, me and my mate. I've got probably a 90-kilo striped on, and he's got about a 70-kilo black on, and they're jumping next to each other, and we're swimming like little kids, We're having a great time, and woo-ah and carrying on, and it was all good while the fish stayed together, and then they went in different directions.
Yeah, that would have made it hard because marlin, you chase them down with a boat, don't you?
Yeah, so we had to make a choice, like, where do we go? And I had 15-kilo gear on.
Yep.
He had 24-kilo gear and was a smaller fish. So we thought, and like size doesn't matter, it's just a tag in for those comps.
Yeah.
So I thought, we'll chase the big fish, the small fish. He's one. And I just free spooled mine while we were chasing that other fish because I had a kilometre of line on my reel. I knew I had a kilometre because I'd only spooled it for that comp. So anyway, we chased these fish for probably 15, 20 minutes, and then it's just dropped out. It's pulled the hooks. So as it's happened, I said, what's going on? Are we chasing mine? Because I'm still connected. And the boy said, nah. He said, I'm gone. Let's chase yours. And as he said it, mine jumped. And it's a good 700 metres from us.
Wow. Yep.
And between the fish and our boat is another game boat going between.
No. Yeah.
So you're just sort of hanging on. But there must have been enough belly in the line to get under the boat. And it was clear. And it took me an hour from that point to boat the fish.
Yeah.
Hour of fighting. That's just...
Yeah, your
just
heart
out
would be
of
in your throat seeing that boat.
Oh, I thought I was gone.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, just one little prop nick in that line. So, yeah.
Yeah, but they're all good moments. You never forget those things.
100%.
Nah.
Just using a gimbal, you obviously weren't in a seat or anything?
Just stand up, gimbal,
Yeah.
knees into the gunnel, and away you go.
Muscle it back.
Yeah.
And you've
Well,
had
at least in the boat you can chase them. Like.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, chase them down. And you've had a pretty good experience recently chasing marlin, haven't you, Az?
Yeah, I popped my cherry with a marlin this year.
Yeah.
And, yeah, mate.
Yeah, nice.
One of the most exciting fish I've ever caught. Like, proper adrenaline rush. Couple of good mates on the coast. Shane Banks, he organised a trip for me, headed up there and, done the same thing, done the 2-hour trek out there and, got onto the marlin grounds and, mate, we set up our rods and within 2 minutes, we didn't even crack our first beer. This is no word of a lie. And the first rod went off. And this whole trip out there, this 2 hours, Banksy was telling me how long it can be before you get a bite. So I'm thinking I'm going to be here all day to see one bite. And we got one the first 2 minutes. So I was like, this is easy fishing. Like, no wonder people chase marlin. I reckon we went another 4 hours, mate, and didn't see another bite. Then we got a cracking little window and, I hooked into my first stripey and, mate, I'll never forget that till the day I die. Watching that thing dance and the colours in the fish as he was beside the boat, it was just absolutely hectic. And it took me about an hour.
Yep.
But I just remember every time that fish ran and took 300-400 metres of line off me, I was like, holy shit, that's going to hurt getting that back on.
Arms burning.
Yeah, you don't get that from a cod.
No, you're feeling it.
Yeah, well, we actually caught a black probably about an hour after me stripe, and I dodged the rod. I dodged it. I was not fine.
You're still burning.
Yeah.
Banksy, you can have this one, mate.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't even straighten my arm.
Well, how good's that? You're talking about, what was it, the shotgun overhead?
Yeah, so that was obviously my first trip, so I'm pretty green on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the shotgun, they call it a shotgun because it's the furthest lure out the back, and it's on this big pole in the centre of the boat. Pretty much like what Norm was saying earlier, it just snaps out like a outrigger.
Yeah.
And yeah, the first time I heard that shotgun go off, holy shit, it scared the. I was on the back of the boat, just talking to Banksy, and yeah, so it like a flexible fiberglass pole, I guess you could say, and yeah, obviously it's taken tension, and then the line's let go on the clip, and this pole has gone back and slammed onto the boat.
Oh, right,
and
yeah.
I was like, oh, is that why they call it a shotgun? It honestly sounded like a shotgun.
Yeah,
so,
enough to scare you.
But yeah, and unreal. You should go and give it a go, mate. It's a bit different to the old cod.
Yeah, look, the old saltwater fishing has piqued my interest now and then, but I just can't pull myself away from catching the big green fellas to
Nah, there's
spend
still
the
more.
weekend out.
Yeah, 100%. There's nothing that could change me from cod.
No, that's right. That's right. That's
There's
the whole
there's something about them that just keeps you going.
100%.
Lures you back, looking for that bigger fish, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
that day they don't even have to be big fish where they're just ready to go.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, as part of our episodes we're doing, Norm, we've started to tell a few of our own little fishing mishaps, and
Yes.
we're going to give a giveaway for the best fishing mishap that's sent into our emails. Have you got a good one that you could possibly share with us to give a taste?
Yeah, there was a couple I thought of, like, you think of mishaps on the water, there's a mile of them if you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Everyone's had them.
But I narrowed it down to two,
Yep.
and it was either Hooters or the Pertec 4000. And
I'm interested in Hooters.
I'll go with Hooters.
Yeah, let's go.
So anyway,
I've never caught a fish of it. Yeah, keep going.
I had a morning. I couldn't sleep. I was up at like 3 o'clock. It was a weekend. I didn't have a whole lot on, and I'd been fishing the live scope for a couple of years out the dam, and I got pretty effective on the yellows out there, but hadn't done much with cod.
Yep.
I'd seen a few fish, but never really banged any, and never really targeted them. So it was early, it was winter, it was cold. I couldn't sleep. I thought, boat's going on, I'm doing it. I'm going to find myself a cod. I hadn't had the boat out for a week or two, but it didn't really matter. I knew it was fueled up and ready to go. So I hitched her on, out I went. And anyway, pulled up at the boat ramp, and it was one of those real winter foggy mornings where you couldn't see, past a foot in front of you. A real eerie sort of thing. And I'm the only soul there, only one silly enough to be up at that time. Anyway, put the boat, I'm on the water probably about 4 o'clock, put the boat in, and get off the trailer, park the car, come back in, go to crank the motor, and it's whining over but not firing. Mm-hmm. And the battery's sounding a bit doughy, and I'm like, it's winter, maybe the battery's gone. It's a few years old.
Yeah.
So I changed the sounder battery over to the cranking battery. Anyway, same thing, dead as a dodo, wouldn't fire. Starting to get a little despondent now, and I look down just thinking, what's my next move, How am I going to get this thing to fire up? And as I'm looking down, I see the little red cord, the emergency cord, sitting on the floor. I thought, I'll try putting that in, Anyway, I whacked that in and got the boat fired up, and so I'm off. I've got to start.
Yeah.
So anyway, I probably chased. I was scanning, not really knowing what I was doing or what I was looking for, but thought I'd give it a crack, and didn't find anything that really I could say, that was a solid fish. It was, I reckon I threw it a few carp that I thought might have been cod. And anyway, it got to probably about 6 in the morning, and I'd rounded a couple of trees, and there was a school of little redfin just sitting off this tree, and this solid fish just sitting about 2 or 3 metres off this school of reddies. I thought, this is it. This is what I've been looking all morning for. So anyway, I positioned the boat, and there was a solid tree where the reddies were sitting, and a log coming out to the side, or a branch coming out to the side. I thought, if I can just get myself positioned near this little log, I'm going to get the perfect cast. And this fish was just sitting there. I had it in the scope. It was like textbook. I thought, this is it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Imagining
I've
all
gone
the
just for that.
possibilities.
I've just gone for that little bit of extra positioning, and I put my hand on this hollow log, and next thing you know, 2 things have shot out of this log. 2 owls have come flying out. Scared the absolute shit out of me.
we funnily enough that you mentioned
Yeah.
this, we just had this on a recent trip.
Actually, our last cod trip.
Our
Yeah,
last
righto.
cod trip to the dam. It was a Sunday morning before about to leave, and that's right. We were chasing a few yellers like late morning,
Yeah.
and we come up, and there's this hollow log just coming out. And I go to put my hand on this hollow log to sort of move the boat around, and this owl shoots out like a foot in front of my face, and I was like, "Ugh!" I nearly jump out the other side of the boat.
That was the best thing I've seen all weekend.
Yeah, it frightened the hell out of me. And the
Yeah.
the other thing I learnt that day as part of their defence mechanism is when they come out of the logs, they try and shit on you.
Yep.
So
That's what was on the front deck.
That was on. What?
There was a shit on the front deck, and I thought it was a fish, but
no, it'd be the owls. So like after getting the pants scared off you because these owls are shot out.
Yeah.
You look up and you see this owl shit heading in your direction. I've gone flying up the back of the boat, tripped through the screen, ended up on my ass, crashed, banged, and carried on, and dusted myself off. And of course, when I got back up, there was no cod.
No cod.
There was no redfin. I don't think there was a fish within a kilometre of me. I made that much noise.
Yeah. Good bragging.
that's cracking though. That's funny. Like it's funny those other elements you don't take into account when you're cod fishing that tend to surprise you.
Yeah.
And what's his other? You got another story that you were talking about? A Pertec?
Oh, the Pertec 4000.
Mate, we got more time in the world, so we might as well.
Yeah, rip
If you're happy to,
Yeah,
to tell
so
us.
this year I fished the Pertec Challenge
Yep.
with my young fella. He's 16 and he wants to bang a metre fish. So
Yeah, as we all do.
we got wind of a few big fish up the back end of the Macquarie, so we thought that's what we target. And I said, mate,
Yep.
you got to put the hours in. You got to fish the dark or first light. And I think Pertec, it's only daylight hours you fish.
Yeah, rightio.
So we were on the water as soon as we could, and we knew we had about a half-hour run to the fishing spot. So we were fishing first light. So anyway, we've put the gone in, made the effort, got on the water, got to our spot, started throwing a few big plastics around, hadn't really seen anything on the scope. We've gone from one spot to the next, and anyway, as I've full throttled the motor, one of the plastics has rolled over the edge and grabbed the water and taken the rod with it.
Oh, you kidding?
No.
So the overhead and rods gone to the bottom of Burrendong, and we had a bit of a look for it. We're in about 30 metres of water, and we only had a metre of line, and everything sinks. I thought, we're gone. So we did a token effort and dusted ourselves off and went up further and fished a bit more, and then we didn't do any good on the cod. We hadn't seen any cod, so we thought we'd chase a few yellers. And my young fella, he banged one. It was about a 620 yellow belly.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's
good
good
size.
It was a solid
good
fish.
size.
And I rolled another one at the boat off the same tree that would have been, it was bigger. It would have gone about 630, 640.
Wow!
And then pulled
Stonkers.
another one off that went about 595. So we had 3 solid fish off this one tree. And anyway, taking photos and getting it on the mat, lining it all up. And the fish kept sliding forward, and I couldn't get the full measurement of his big fish on the mat.
Yeah, righto.
So I got it to where I wanted it, and I took the photo, and I zoomed in on the photo and looked at how I had the fish on the mat, not paying too much attention to anything else. And then, happy 628 or whatever it was, a 618. It's solid. Got every millimetre of it. I was happy with it. And then anyway, it wasn't until we got home, I was going through the photos, and as I've taken the photo, as my young fella's let go of the fish, his hand has perfectly blocked our competitor number.
No.
So we couldn't enter that one. So that
Would have broke his
that was
ass.
a dud day. So anyway, we were a bit low. We had dinner, and I said, "What do you want to do tomorrow?" I said, "You want to stick to the game plan?" And because it wasn't warm, it was still a bit cool out there.
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, I'm solid. I want to do it." So anyway, we did the same plan the next day. Went out, didn't find any cod. We got a few carp because there was a heap of different categories. Got some carp, got some reddies. Went and chased the yellers. We got a couple of yellers that were just under the 600.
Yeah.
So they were all solid fish. And we were pretty happy with it. And and I'm up the front on the screen, and I hear this bit of a commotion down the back as my young fella's taking a photo of his fish.
Yep.
And I look over, and he's got his hands on his head. He's white-faced. He's looking at me wide-eyed.
Oh, no.
And he just goes, "That was your phone."
Oh.
I said,
No.
"What?" He goes, "I went to adjust the fish on the mat, and as I let the fish go, it flipped and its tail hit the phone out of his hand
Into the drink.
and into the drink." So that had all our photos for that day,
Yep.
and it was like the end of the day. We were done.
Yeah.
We were busted. So we'd done the phone, we'd done the rod and reel. He would have won the biggest yellow.
I was about to ask
I would have
that.
come second or third in the seniors, and so we figured it's the weekend's probably cost us about $4,000. So
And lost phones.
that's the
and
that's the Pertec 4000.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Right.
Sounds like someone else I know about getting a winning fish in a comp and not actually being able to submit it.
Yeah. Mishap number 2 for Aaron this
Mishap.
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was actually fishing the Burrendong Classic, and was that last year, no?
No.
year before.
2 years.
Year before.
Yeah, 2 years
Hey.
ago.
And yeah, had done the old solo run and the boss's tinny. He had all
Shout
the
out
flash.
to Bomber.
Proper looked after me that weekend, and he had all the Garmin gear and big 16-inch screen. So I thought, why not? Be a cracking little solo trip. Went out and I had no intentions of chasing yellers that day. I was actually after cod, and seen a fish right up shallow, and threw a gannier at it, thinking it was a cod, and I thought it was only going to be about a 70 centimetre cod. So I got the fish wrong as well. End up being a 61 yeller, and I thought, holy shit, this might actually take out the biggest yeller of the comp. So I was a bit chuffed with myself, kind of give myself a pat on the back and cracked the key in. And I've put her on the brag mat,
Speaking
had
of
my
cracking
number on
keys.
it. Oh, that sounded great. And took the photo of it, and Hawkeye actually come over, Andrew Walk, and I showed him the fish, and he was like, "Yeah, mate, you should kick that off pretty well." I said, yeah, and I just grabbed it off the brag mat and threw her over the side. And in this comp, Norm clearly stated there had to be a release video of the fish.
That's right.
Yep.
So, and it was straight away. Hawkeye was like, "Mate, you didn't get a recording of the release." So I've just spat the dummy. So I'm going back to camp.
Get on the beers.
Yeah, mate, I don't even think I touched the water that day. I was just like, nah, I'm sitting right beside this
bugger.
fire and sulking.
Yeah, that was the biggest yellow belly for that weekend.
Yeah.
You had a couple of breakdowns too that weekend too, didn't you?
Yeah,
In the
a
boat.
flat battery. Oh, the battery
Yeah.
was horrible.
One tiny battery running the motor plus the 2 big 16 inches.
Yeah, mate, just
Didn't
drained him.
last.
He
Yeah.
sorted it now. He's got some proper lithiums in it. And
Yeah.
And did you lose a rod off the back of the boat?
Nah, I broke a rod.
Oh,
I give it
that's
to
right.
the kids. Let the kids have a bait fish off a bank, and
Put it
fish,
in-
fish snapped that in the rod holder and took
This
it.
is why we don't put graphite rods in rod holders, lads.
Amen.
What was it? What fishing rod was it?
Oh, blade and tails.
Oh,
Yeah.
what reel?
I think I might have had a die with kicks on that. So yeah, you're probably $650.
I remember sitting there and watching that rod go off its head, and then all of a sudden it disappears.
Yeah, and it wasn't until the next morning I actually seen the butt of the rod still in
the rod
Oh,
holder.
right.
So I didn't know what happened. I thought it just got pulled out of the rod holder.
Yeah.
No.
And funnily enough, we're sitting there, and as same sort of thing, hands on head, he's like, "What do I do?"
I
And
ran
he
in.
runs out into the dam. He just starts swimming and diving after this
Yeah.
rod.
Duck diving.
Yeah, the only reason I remember that because I was up on the stage
Yeah.
doing the event, and Az had given me a bit of a rundown of the misfortune he'd had for the weekend, and we had a couple of raffle tickets that we were trying to get rid of so we could get the raffle going. So I think we gave you $5 or $10 worth of tickets.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You know, it's just to make a bit of a
Yep.
change of luck for the weekend.
And
And
boy,
boy,
did
did
it
it.
change.
You ended up winning a motorbike or something off that, didn't you?
Oh, and some. I won a
Sleeping
King's
bag?
sleeping
Yeah,
bag.
the King's
That was my
sleeping
first one, and then you got to the two major prizes. I think it was the boat and the motorbike, was it?
Would have been the motorbike,
Yeah.
the midweek one.
Yeah, and
Or was it the CRF 50 or an 80, whatever it was?
Yeah, a little 50 oars.
Yeah.
She's a little cracker. And and I couldn't believe my luck. I remember saying to you boys, I said, you know what, I'm going to win this motorbike. And I could not believe it when Norm run this number out and I had this ticket, lo and behold, in my hand.
Yeah, I remember you looking at me and going, is that the number?
Yeah, I didn't think it was right.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure, mate. Yeah. He's like, got up all excited, shaking his tickets around.
And that was probably the biggest cheer I've ever got in my life. That whole crowd lit up because they realised on how shit of a fisherman I was that weekend.
Oh, I loved it. You couldn't have scripted it. That was perfect. It was just gold.
Yeah. Absolutely unreal.
Such a good weekend. It really was. Yeah. And, those fellas who were on the readies for the ready comp.
Yeah,
holy moly, did they crack in?
Yeah, I can't think. Hancock family.
Yeah.
What they get, 1,100 or something?
Yeah, I think 1,500, I think.
Was the one fella, though, wasn't it? Yeah. I remember him getting up on stage and on his singlet's got Ready Slayer on it.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
him.
This guy's prepared.
But his mum reckons he's mad. Like, him and his brother will stay out all night on the boat chasing, just banging Reddies. They come
That's
back.
insane.
They come back to eat, they get a couple of hours sleep, and then they go again.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah, well, it's from Friday afternoon to Sunday morning, is it?
Yeah, about Sunday mid-morning.
Yeah, so from Friday afternoon to Sunday mid-morning, he's banged, what was it, 1,500?
Something like 1,500 redfin.
Redfin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him having a quick chat to him. He's like, I just slept and ate and drank in the boat, went back to whatever I need to do. And
he had something about he rolled his swag out in the front of the boat or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, loves it. Absolutely loves it.
That is proper commitment. Hands down to the fella.
I mean, I'm a bit partial to the old redfin as well. It's not too bad. I mean, you go out and get some blades or some old spoons.
You make it fuller than 1,500 of them, though.
No, actually cracking weekend, boys. If you want to go out to it, it's a Barrendong Classic. Great weekend. Lots of prizes.
Yeah,
lots of fishing to do. Yeah, brilliant.
Really good. And a good family event as well.
Yeah, that's what we target. We're orientated towards the kids, so we're very family orientated.
Yeah,
that's what it was about. Encouraging. Just like we all got started as kids, and something that's carried through for the rest of your life. If we can indoctor that into an event and encourage that through kids and get them outdoors doing what we love doing, then I'm all for it.
100%. Yeah, I'm all for it too. That's for sure.
Righto, Norm. You've got a story that happened bass fishing, mate. I can't wait to do this one.
Yeah, we do an annual trip with a heap of schoolmates up the gorge country, up from Grafton on the Clarence River. We've been doing it for nearly 30 years. And it's one of those trips you can get, a handful of blokes, you can get 30 blokes. When we were younger, we got bigger crowds. Now it's more the hardcore guys that sort of stick with it now. But anyway, this particular year, there's probably half a dozen of us, or half a dozen boats, so maybe a dozen of us around the river. And we come motoring back, and there's a real steep right-hand bend around this big granite rock. And as we come pelting around it, we had to pull up stumps because there's a boat in the middle of the river, one of our boys' boats in the middle of the river. And we go, what the fuck are they doing there? Fucking stupid spot to stop.
Yeah.
And we get closer, we give them a gobful to say, what the fuck he's doing there? And we look down, and one bloke's white as a sheet. He's coughing water up. The other bloke's gasping for air. He can't take a breath in. We're going, what's going on, boys? Anyway, it took them a couple of minutes to get themselves together. And it turns out when they went round the corner, they'd done that hard turn, and the motor's jumped off the transom. She's gone
See you
over.
later.
Yeah, and old mate, the old mate that's the driver, he's a fucking tight ass, and he wasn't letting it go. So he's hung on to his 15 horse and he's trying to swim up with it.
So he's gone out the back with his motor.
He's hanging on to it. He's not letting it go. He's not hit the bottom because it's in about 20 foot of water. It's a solid depth.
Yeah, right.
Wow. And he's hanging on to this 15 horse for dear life. And the other fella's grabbed the fuel line because that's the only thing he's got. He stretched this thing like thin. It was like as thin as a rubber band, he said. Before he thought it was going to snap for sure. Yeah. But he's pulled mate up and the motor and got them all both in the boat.
Wow. Through a fuel line. I would not back that to hold up.
No, I would not expect a fuel line to be able to hold that up. But imagine how hard it would have been attached on the other end.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, he was happy to send himself to the bottom with the motor rather than give it up.
That's proper definition of going down with your boat, eh?
And this is why you always bolt them in, eh?
Oh, solid.
Yeah.
Relying on the transom clamp. It reminds me of the day, actually, we were out fishing above Wellington. That was the day we
Norm
went
took
out
out
with
fishing.
you. Remember the day we went out and we got the flat in Aaron's Ute?
Oh,
Before
yes.
we went
Yeah.
fishing?
Yep.
Yeah. So we drive out to this property, we go on, we get a flat before we start fishing. So the day's already got mischief written all over it. Anyway, we have to get the flat sorted. We back down into the water. Aaron, what's your little boat? It's a 4 metre...
Nah, 370.
370 bass tracker?
Yeah, bass.
Yeah.
Bass.
The
trigger.
little 370 bass tracker with a 25 on the back, 25 horse.
Yeah. It should be a 15, but I think it's 25.
Well, we head up river and we get to this spot after all these huge rock walls, and there's like a rapid that almost does like a dog leg.
Yeah, it was nearly like an S.
Yeah.
But narrowed right up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the spot. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And we get up there.
I won't forget it now.
No. Because we're like, it seems pretty deep enough. Aaron's on the plane trying to get up to this rapid and try and get through it. And all of a sudden, hits bottom.
No, it was a log.
That's right.
Oh, shit.
And he didn't have the kick out. Like, it was
Oh,
locked
so you're in fixed?
Yeah.
fixed.
right.
Hits it. The motor half falls off.
Yeah, it was only on by one clamp.
One clamp, and that clamp had nudged to the top, and it was almost gone.
Yeah, it can happen quick.
Yeah. So we're floating back down in this rapid.
Ended up in the drink, trying to drag it up the bank.
Yeah, we're floating back down the rapid, trying to keep the motor on the boat, and chaos everywhere.
Oh, and then we had to fucking pull the deck of the boat up to get underneath it to do
Yeah.
the clips back up.
Yeah.
So it was an
Right.
absolute nightmare. Like,
Yeah, because like where the little paddle things that you turn the transom bolts are, they were under the deck.
Oh,
So
yeah,
when-
right.
so
yeah,
the casting
yeah.
deck
I'm with
goes
you.
right back to the flush.
Yeah,
not
flush
on the
almost
motor.
with those. So when you pop that off, and I think we had a bloody Leatherman or something in
Yeah.
the boat, and we had to undo these 6 screws painstakingly over like half an hour to get the bloody back deck off to get it back on.
And we had to get Phillips head screws out with a flathead Leatherman.
Yeah, gold.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute nightmare.
It's done it to me twice now, actually.
Has it? Come off?
I had another whoopsie.
Oh, no. You think you'd bolted in by now, wouldn't you?
I have now.
Have you?
Yeah.
Regular.
Half the second time. And same thing, jumped off one clip, and I'm like, for fuck's sake. I have a long way back to the car. And the worst part was I was downstream, not up.
Oh, dear. So, mate, along with the Classic, obviously you're involved with the Twin Rivers Club, which help run the Classic every year.
That's right.
Can you just give us a bit of a rundown of what Twin Rivers does and how you're involved with it?
Yeah, we're a pretty social club. Like anything, we just sort of we've got a bit of a mix. You got your serious guys and you got your less serious guys that are more in it for the outing sort of thing. You know, and we're about getting together, having a beer, campfire.
Yep.
You know, talking shit around the fire and
Switching off.
yeah, making a weekend of it. The fishing's just a bit of a bonus, you know, that comes along. That's the excuse, I think, just to get out and do it. But we've also we raise a lot of money, so anything we raise from the Burrendong Classic and just from our local fundraising, we try and put back into our waterways. So, you know, I think we've done probably over 50,000 fingerlings
That's
since
a great
we've been
effort.
going.
Unreal.
For a
How
little
good is
club,
that?
we're solid.
Yeah.
And the money we raise from the Burrendong Classic just gives us a bit bigger scope.
Yeah.
You know, so if there's any other little clubs out there that need support and want to get involved in some fingerling releases or habitat regeneration or regrowth or re-snagging,
Yep.
you know, we can support those little guys now as well. Try and share the love along the length of the river, so it's, you know.
Yeah, it's not just one spot that's
Yeah.
getting everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We want to make everywhere great, not just where's local.
That's it.
And make sure it's there for the future when we get these kids into fishing.
100%.
They've got the fish that we grew up catching. So, yeah, the fingerlings, the re-snagging programs, it's really good for the future.
Yeah. And the fingerlings mostly, what are they? Mostly cod, mostly
We mix it
yellowbelly?
up, bit
Yep.
of cod and yellow belly.
Yep.
The dam gets pretty well resourced, so we focus mainly on the
The
rivers.
river. Yep.
We've done a bit in the Bell, the Macquarie. They're our main two focuses.
Beautiful.
And, we've done a couple of re-snagging programs, willow control. We're starting to get into a bit of replanting, bit of revegetation. So if we take the willows out, what goes in behind them?
Just to keep the bank together and it holds together. Like we've all seen it. You go to a bank, there's nothing on it, and there's cattle on the property, and it's all trodden into the ground and ruined. But
so I'm still learning a lot about what's available and what's on offer and how these things come together. So but it's been good. It's interesting. It's good fun. And, you meet some good people along the way, which is good.
100%.
And I know you're a big fan of fish care as well, and I'd like to talk about what happened with our river here, and when you give us a phone call, and me and Dame are more than happy to come out and give you a hand.
So me and Az are both part of the Twin Rivers Club. We're enrolled and signed up and happy to give a hand anytime you call. And we got the call one day. Yeah,
we had a bit of a situation under the spillway. So the dam had spilled for a bit over a year, I think.
Yep.
And then there's the top pool under the spillway. When the water stops going over the top, it becomes disconnected from the river. Just the number of fish that move up into that hole is unbelievable. And I mean, that's as far as they can go. That's it. They're stuck.
Yeah, right to the dam wall. Yeah.
So once they get in that hole and the water stops coming over the top, that's it. That's where they stay. And it's happened a few times before, but the event's different. But the outcome's the same in that we have a fish kill there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And this year it happened. This time it happened pretty quick. The dam had only stopped flowing for I think 3 or 4 months.
It was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the cod had started to turn. Like we got a call from the state water to say, look, we've got an issue with some fish down here. What can you guys do? So we went down for a look, started making a few calls, working with fisheries, and got some permits together to get in and try and get out what we could.
Yep.
But unfortunately, we were a little slow, and we lost a lot of quality fish as a result.
Unfortunately,
we saved a few. We saved a few cod. We saved I think we've saved would it be over 100 yellow belly.
Awesome.
That we got out of there. The guys have been back and since electro-fished it, and they pulled over 2.5 tonne of carp out of the one hole.
Wow.
So the biomass in the hole was ridiculous, and that would have been a big part as to what happened. And you're chatting to all the science guys. They're talking about the time of year and the water turning over with temperature changes, so it brings all that foul water to the top.
Oh, right. So you reckon that's what mostly contributed to
on this occasion? They seem to think so.
Yeah.
And big fish are the first to suffer because they're taking in so much water just to go through those gills.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and that fouls them up. And they're the first roller,
Yeah, that was actually something I never thought about on why big fish die first. And it 100% explains it to the T of they obviously move more water through their gills. And
if it's bad water,
it's going to kill them quicker.
Quick.
Yeah, for me going out there, like me and Az went out personally and tried to help out the cause. And from our point of view, seeing all these big fish, it's like, is it the oxygen? Is it just the pH or chemicals? Stagnant water. But to hear that explained, that makes a lot of sense.
Something went wrong pretty quick.
Yeah, that's right.
Previously, like I was talking to the guys out there, last time it took a lot longer. The fish had a lot longer in there.
Right, yep.
But there was a slime built up on the wall, and then they had rain, and the slime peeled off the wall, and it actually choked the fish.
Oh, little kid.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been different, but the outcome's the same. So what we're trying to put together, and we're working with all the parties involved, is to maybe get some sort of a strategic plan in place and have the permits in place and say this is what we can do. What we can do, whether we're in there with nets or we're allowed to fish it or electro fish it, we're not sure yet, but that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
For me, I'd love to have a social day down there. Well, the fish are still on the chew.
Yeah.
Mind
you, it's only a 50-metre walk to the river where we're releasing them.
Yeah. If we can do it, I'd love to have a day down there where State Water are happy for us to get in there and manage the site, catch the fish, and then put them back in the river.
Back in the water.
And you had a really good system when we rocked up there. So you had recovery tanks.
Yeah, that's right.
And something very interesting that people might like to hear is you actually had salt in the fresh water.
Yeah, so we had the fisheries guys up from Narrandera, and they were trying to get some brood stock out of there, if any of the cod. So they had the first crack at it, but the fish were too poor. They weren't interested in eating. They were in survival mode. And they said when they get those red sores, those worms, the lernia on them, and they're suffering, they put salt in the fresh water. So I think it was about 6 kilos of salt per 1,000 litres.
Yeah, right.
And that just cleans their gills out, kills the parasites.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how quick they recovered.
Yeah.
So a couple of the cod, the cod had actually gone like a real motley white. I don't know if you've ever seen a cod stress.
Yeah, 100%.
They almost look like a koi carp.
They do,
white koi
yeah.
carp. And we got a couple of those and had them in the tanks, and by the next morning they were back full green. They were different fish. They were,
I couldn't even believe, we had that, the first cod we put in there the morning we got there, it would have only been in there for 2 hours, and it come out a completely different fish from 2 hours.
Yeah, it's quick.
So, it was mind-blowing for me that I actually never even thought about salt water helping freshwater fish.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before. So
Yeah.
Well, it's almost similar, in the tournament scene that me and Az are involved in with, we use a product called Rejuvenate.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as boys, get on it. It is great stuff to keep your fish alive. If you put them in a live well, just keeps recirculating. Turns the water a weird green colour.
It does, yes.
But I think that must have something to do with it. I'm pretty sure it's like a salt and I know it helps oxygenate as well.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, and it helps their protective slime on their scales to. Yeah, it's just really good. It pumps a hell of a lot of oxygen through the water as well.
Yeah. I know a lot of the bass anglers overseas use them. It's really great, and it's helping a hell of a lot for us and our Yellowbelly tournament scene as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Have you seen it before?
No.
Rejuvenate?
No.
Yeah, you can buy it down at the old Outback Angler Dubbo. It's fantastic stuff. Just a little tub, and it's like a powder or a granule type thing. And in the live well, you just put a cap full in, and it recirculates and sort of bubbles around and stuff. And the fish.
Yeah, you can have a really crook fish, say one that's suffered with a bit of barotrauma or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Sit him in, Rejuvenate, and mate, doesn't take long at all, like half an hour, and you're flat out trying to catch him in your live well.
Yeah,
that's solid, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember using it at a bass tournament over in Glenbourne, and bass at the best times, pretty quick and hard to catch out of a live well, but you put a bit of that stuff in them as well. You're struggling to get
and they're
bass.
spiky as shit, trying to catch them little bastards.
They're running around, sticking you every second way. So with the Twin Rivers Club, mate, is there any way that the average person or whoever's listening can help you guys out or contribute to the cause?
Yeah, if we've got a Facebook page, just Twin Rivers Facebook page. Get on there, have a look around if you're keen and you live local and want to become a member.
Yep.
Happy to have you on board. You get notified of events and all that sort of stuff as we have them. If you're keen on getting into the fish recovery or a bit of rejuvenation stuff, there's always projects around. So just flick us a message via the Facebook page. We'll let you know what's going on and how you can get involved. And if you're not from this area, what other areas or people might be, up for that sort of stuff where you guys live. Happy to push you in the right direction.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we always welcome bodies on deck when we've got something going.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, how good's that? And I know you mentioned before you were talking about re-snagging. Can you just run us through how that works in the river?
Yeah, so I guess the philosophy is about, you spend all this money on a fish. I don't know what a cod fingerling is now. It's $2 or $3, I'd say.
Yeah.
So you think around the country how many cod fingerlings are getting released and what that cost must be. There'd be a couple of $1 million in that. Easy.
Surely.
Yeah.
So the philosophy of the thinking is if you can provide the habitat via the snags and promote those fish to breed in your local waterways, you've got to have a win-win.
Yeah.
You know, so the snags are there forever, and hopefully the fish return to it. So a big fish, you know, if it produces a couple of 100,000 eggs in a season, and you get 10 fish to do that, there's your $1 million pretty quick.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way of thinking of it.
Yeah. So I struggled to get my head around it when we first were invited to partake in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But once you understand what the idea is behind it and what they're trying to achieve, you think, well, yeah, it sort of makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You know,
and let it do it naturally instead of trying.
Yeah, and there's some areas of the river that just naturally produce snags itself. You know, so they you know, if you fish the river enough, you know what holes are holding fish, and generally they're log loaded.
100%. Yeah.
God, yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And there's, you know, sections in the river, if we have a run of, you know, around spring when you get fish coming up to spawn, they'll hold in those areas.
Yeah.
And, you know, but if you look back towards some of those farming areas or even back towards maybe your main towns, a lot of those snags have been taken out. Generally for boating. So,
yeah, that's
you know,
right.
back down in the Murray, it was for paddle steamers and stuff like that. But just even for recreational boating and stuff like that over the years, they sort of got dragged out of the way.
Yeah, that's right. You even look at some of the places around here, and there's some spots where skiers will use the water, and they've gone through and they've cut out some logs or changed some logs and that sort of stuff. And I understand they're trying to do their sport, but they probably don't understand the rectifications of what they're doing to the river.
Yeah, and it's about getting a balance too. Like, it can't be all one way. You just got to find that happy medium where it can work.
100%.
Yeah.
I think, and from talking to a lot of people about fingerlings as well, and I think as you probably have more details on this than I do, but some people I've talked to, like, why don't they grow them bigger than fingerlings so they can release in the water? So from what I understand is they do fingerlings because it's cost effective. You only have to grow them a certain size before you can release in the water. And when you start growing bigger, you have to put 10 times more effort into them.
Yeah, it's funding.
Yeah.
To get them to a size like that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like a cod does go pretty quick. Don't quote me on the exact time frame, but the first 30 centimetres of a cod is really quick. It's insane. And then after that 30 centimetres, it slows right down in their growth rate.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it also could be down to the numbers. They're pumping numbers out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I
Then
mean, you can
again, your
imagine-
survival rate's obviously a lot lower.
Yeah,
but
you can imagine with fingerlings that big, trying to get 1 million of them easier than to get 1 million 30 centimetre fish.
Yeah.
Just the food and the size of the tanks and that sort of stuff. So it's not as easy as people.
Probably not as efficient either. Like, you know, protein in for what you're converting for
That's
size,
right.
the cost would be astronomical.
Yeah.
Oh,
To get an 8 centimetre fish versus a 30 centimetre fish.
Yeah, I read a study on just that, the size, putting them in fingerlings versus putting them in as big a fish. And this sort of study sort of concluded that the fish that were bigger, because they'd been reared in tanks, were less wary going into a natural environment versus a smaller fingerling sort of fish that's had to learn to
stuff.
survive from day one. Whether there's any truth to it or not, I don't know, but it sort of made sense when you thought about it.
100%.
Like, you just imagine this, you know, 10 centimetre cod swimming up to a 60 centimetre cod saying, what's going on here, but he's not going to last real long.
no, that's all right. I've just actually had a little bit of a look up here to back it up. So the growth is rapid in the first 4 to 5 years. Some individual fish reaching up to 64 centimetres in the 5th year. So that's the frame where it is a quick growth rate, and then it is 1 to 4 centimetres every year from there.
After that.
Yeah.
So what's that? Yeah, you start looking at a metery there, and what's that put you at?
She's
an old fish.
Maybe 20-year-old fish.
Yeah.
Would it be that
Minimum.
old? Yeah.
Minimum. Yeah. I remember them talking about, especially when there was a couple of fish kills going around, and they were doing the bones in the ears or something like that, and they were aging them, and some of those fish were 50, 60
Yeah,
plus. Right. Yeah. I can't remember that. I think it was down south. I can't remember what it was, but yeah. It was
There you
unreal.
go. So this is an average growth rate chart. A metre 20 is 30-year-old.
30 years old. There you go.
So that's a pretty good mark.
Yeah, unreal.
And it's probably why we've got to look after them a bit more.
Yeah, no, that's what hurts so much. Like when you're pulling a carcass of a metre 20 fish out,
Yeah.
throw it on the back of the ute to bury,
Yeah.
versus a photo of a bloke holding a metre 20 fish that he's caught.
Yeah.
The emotion's very different.
100%. Like
The smiles from ear to ear.
the car ride home, the car drive home from that spillway, we were pretty disheartened, mate. There wasn't much communication happening.
There wasn't much.
It was just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it hurts. And
It really does.
It's something you love doing, and you see all the people, dedicated people, putting an effort in to promoting these fish and restocking these fish and getting the numbers where, you can go on the river and you can get a few decent fish.
Yeah, 100%.
And make a great day of it. Not long ago you couldn't do that.
no.
With fishing practices changing, people aren't killing everything they catch.
Yeah.
The amount of promotion that's going into restocking and all these other programs,
Yeah.
it's definitely having an impact.
Yeah.
And the more of that we can do, the better our fisheries will be.
For sure. And there is one thing that they do overseas with the largemouth bass, which I would love them to bring into the Murray Cod fishing.
Is this,
And this is
what I
the
mentioned to
Lunker
you?
program.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Lunker program before?
Lunker.
Lunker.
No.
So pretty much over in the States, Lunker means like 10 pound plus.
Yeah, so it's
bass.
10 pound plus bass.
Yeah. And there's what's the program called as? Lunker Texas Lunkers, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Lunker, the Lunker program.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the moral of the story is they actually, not every largemouth bass has the potential to get 10 pound and bigger, where this Lunker program over the last 30, 40 years, they get these 10 pound fish. So you can catch a 10 pound bass over there, ring them up, they'll come to the dam or the lake you're at, they'll pick that fish up, they then take it back to the Lunker program. Then the biggest thing they do is they actually get the genetics off that fish
Yeah, right.
and breed it with another genetic of a 10 pound bass. So instead of having a 30% chance of being a 10 pound fish, it jumps to like 80.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's insane. So they've even got lakes over there stocked with all genetic 10 pound bass.
You'd be
and-
looking for Lunker lakes, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like obviously it's going to be a very costly thing and
100%. And
it is a huge sport over there at Monsters Australia.
Yeah, where we spend 100 million, or where we spend $1 million, they'd spend 100 million on
Every day of the
on
week.
their fishing. Yeah, or
Yeah.
more.
Oh,
Like you look at the things like the Bassmaster Elite or Major League Fishing, whatever, and it's huge.
and that's one thing I'd love to see Australia do, mate. Not so much getting right into it and spending that much money, but the fish care those guys do over there for their fish program is second to none. Like
Yeah,
they're in most of their tournaments, they don't even live well them. They catch them, they weigh them. They get penalised if they touch the carpet in the boat. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
you get the lure
Put the
out,
marshal on
they
board,
whack
they
it
weigh
straight
them
on the scales,
straight back in.
back in. There's
Yeah.
no stressing in the live well.
Yeah,
They really do look after their fish compared to us.
yeah,
I agree. Like, if you're going to run an event, it's got to be catch and release.
100%.
Like the days of slaying all the fish that you catch are gone, I reckon.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And most events these days, I don't think there is any keep events except for carp and redfin events and that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's definitely some merit to running these events and treating the fish right and getting back in the water for someone else to enjoy.
That's it.
Yeah, for sure. Righto, boys. I think we've pretty much covered all the topics that we want to talk about. Is there anything else?
I think we're pretty sorted, mate.
Yeah. Norm, is there anything else you want to mention or say? Or
Nah, it was good, boys. Thanks for having us in and enjoyed the
Not a worry at
yarn.
all.
we do. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time of the episode where we do our giveaway for the best story. And oh my lord, We have had some crackers sent to us.
But there's one stands out, I reckon.
There is one that stands out for sure, and thanks so much for everyone sent in. Absolutely fantastic read and hear and know all these cool stories. I'm sure a few will pop up now and then.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed just reading them out to myself and drinking a few tins.
Oh, how good was it?
It was brilliant.
Having a giggle to yourself while you're having a beer.
Yeah. So we picked one to read out this episode, get us kicked off, but probably in future references we might pick the top 3. And
For sure.
Yeah, go from there.
No problem. Righto. And our winner is Rick. Won't say his last name, probably doesn't want to know. I want his name spread everywhere, but Rick, mate, this story had me giggling, 100%. So it starts out, he says, legends, here's a tale without any mustard. Straight off the bat. Me and my mate Chriso were headed for the Fish Classic at the Gambie. All week we're talking it up, what we're going to do with the $80,000 prize money. I went down to the local tackle shop, stocked up on bulk lures, and they had a special on Daiwa combos for $350 a pop. I thought, bugger it, I'll grab 2. By the time he was finished spooling up the reels, the basket full of lures, he was out about $900. Anyway, headed up nice and early for the comp. Didn't get a pre-fish and never fished in a Gambie before. So I was going in blind besides what they had read during the week. Morning of, they were that pumped. They were in the boat before they could fucking see.
That's called fishing.
That's called fishing. Headed out down the main arm, and after about an hour or so, Chris and him were questioning what was going wrong. I thought, fuck it. Let's head back and grab the magic bait that he'd whipped up the night before. You know, one of those ancestry recipes passed down from 6 generations, but you've never seen a fucking fish caught on it. Anyway, they're heading back, going the slowest they possibly can due to the traffic on the water, and they hit a submerged log. We perched the boat like a pendulum, and after Chriso did some fucking acrobatic rolls up the front, we flipped the boat. By the time I resurfaced, the reality hit me that all my new gear, lures, rods, wallet, phone, and all of Chriso's gear had fucking sunk. We were up shit creek with an upside-down boat, and not sure if it's lucky or unlucky, but there was plenty of boats around to see. It was like fucking Burke Street. After a struggle, we managed to get the boat to the shore with the assistance of 5 others. We drained it. A couple of blokes gave us a beer and a tow back. Now it's about 9 a.m. We are fucking soaking wet, only wearing a pair of Bonds jocks, drinking beers and wondering what had happened. It was a long tow back, passed around about 100 boats, all thinking, what a bunch of fuckwits. Anyway, we got dropped back to camp. 2 blokes and jocks soaking wet, dad's bods drinking beer at 9 a.m.
Amen.
Imagine what the staff of the comp were thinking. We walked back, and I shit you not, found a $50 note floating on the water in front of us from someone's camp. It was like the fishing god saying, don't give up.
Oh, fuck.
We gathered ourselves and came back up with a plan. We were going to tow my boat back home, grab his boat. We'll use the Misso's bank card for supply a day's worth of fishing gear and still win the comp. They'll be writing movies of this shit, we say, as we pull the boat out of the head and head off. 6 hours round trip. My God, is he dedicated. 6 hours round trip and we are back. Chriso is mainly a saltwater fisherman, so the boat we are now and fishing from isn't ideal. But we head up to the festive that night and hear memories of people telling the story of these 2 blokes that flipped the boat that day, so they laid low. We hit the stalls up and grabbed a new rod each for the morning and a couple of lures, as most of them hadn't floated. We tipped a few in that night. I don't remember much. The morning rolls around and spirits are high, surprisingly. We keep mentioning shit like Steve Bradbury and Eric the Eel. We head out, and as the day grows old, still not a bite this time, we are down the Goulburn Arm. After about 4 or 5 hours, I'm down the back casting a spinnerbait when all of a sudden my shoes feel wet. I say to Chriso, we have a fucking problem here, mate. About 20 minutes away from the boat ramp, we start the mission back watching the back of the boat fill up, thinking surely we can't sink two. We make it back. I rush to the back of the trailer and rip it out of the water. The old sea vessel won't sit right on the trailer, so Chriso yells, "Hold on a sec, I'll get out and move it by hand." All I see in the mirror is this bloke go for a jump from the boat to the jetty and miss by 2 feet. He gets one leg on the ramp and does a scissoring backflip into the water, emerging like a wounded sea lion. We can't help but think no one is going to believe this shit. We get in one and pull... We get it in, pull the bungs, and there is half the fucking Goulburn River pouring out as we drove off. Was a sinker, but there was a sinker sitting under the boat flooring that must have been there for years and had eventually corroded through the aluminium on the perfect weekend. Legends. This is the story of how 2 blokes became immortals. We heard this story told throughout the night, and many fishers asking us if we had have we heard about these blokes. We didn't want the accolades, so we just nodded our heads through and said, "Yeah, nah, tell us more." Who knows where this story now sits, but no doubt it'll be getting told in some outback pub along the Murray about 2 legends that had a ripper weekend, sinking tins and boats.
Mate, I will take me out off to you 2 boys that have put up with a weekend like that. I'll have a 10-pack for that.
Oh, Rick.
Oh,
Mate, that is a cracking story. Made me giggle.
Oh, mate, new shorts.
Hopefully it made everyone else have a bit of a giggle. Mate, you are getting an excellent prize pack.
So what we're going to do, mate, we'll get in contact with you. We've got $150 worth of Wilson Zerrick gear coming your way, mate. So obviously you chase a few cod down there, so might put a few cod lures together, mate, and send them on your way.
Bloody oath. Mate, thanks for sending in your story. Real tummy tickler.
Yeah, proper.
For sure. Well, I think that about rounds us out for this episode.
Time to pull stumps.
Yeah, time to pull stumps. Thanks, everyone. We've had so many donations on lures for our mental health lure board.
Yeah, amen. And
it is unreal.
It's really building up. And like I said before, guys, if you're willing to donate a few, get in contact with us. We'll give you an address and, we'll get them included in this great cause.
100%. And hopefully we'll have a few pictures up and try and get some auctioned off and get some money where it needs to go.
That's it. Head noise.
100%. All right, boys. Thanks for that.
Thanks, guys.